Ever dreamt of living in the glorious Roman Empire? Togas, temples, triumphant legions. Sounds pretty epic, right? Well, let's pull back the curtain on that fantasy. For the average Roman, life wasn't a grand historical epic. It was a daily struggle against sweat, sewage, and survival. Forget the marble halls. Your reality was a cramped, rickety apartment building, or asterisk, ENSULA asterisk, where the guy upstairs might just empty his chamber pot out the window onto your head. And yes, that was a real problem. Walking through Rome wasn't a scenic tour. It was an assault on the senses. The streets were narrow, crowded, and filthy. The mighty Tiber River. Less of a majestic waterway, more of a public sewer. You'd be dodging runaway carts, stepping over garbage, and holding your nose against the stench of it all. Feeling hungry? Hope you like the dull asterisk the government's bread handout? But when the grain shipments were late, those lines turned into riots. Even the famous Roman baths weren't the spa day you're picturing. They were social hubs, sure, but they were also crowded, noisy, and teeming with germs and lice. It was a world where life was cheap, and comfort was a luxury few could afford. So, the next time you picture ancient Rome, remember the 99% who weren't emperors or senators. Their story is one of grit, not glory. Now, while the common folk were fighting for their next meal, what was happening at the top? Let me introduce you to Emperor Commodus. If you've seen the movie Gladiator you've met a version of him. The son of the wise philosopher King Marcus Aurelius, Commodus was, well, the opposite. He inherited an empire at its peak and seemed determined to run it into the ground with his own ego. Commodus didn't care much for governing politics or military strategy. What he loved was the roar of the crowd. He was obsessed with gladiatorial combat. But he wasn't content to just watch from the imperial box. Oh no. Commodus fancied himself the reincarnation of Hercules and would actually step into the arena to fight. Now, were these fair fights? Of course not. His opponents were often wounded soldiers or terrified amateurs who knew that striking the emperor meant certain death. He'd kill exotic animals like giraffes and ostriches with a bow and arrow from a safe platform. It's all to the forced applause of the Senate. His reign became a whirlwind of paranoia and self-indulgence. He saw assassins around every corner, and to be fair, he wasn't wrong. He executed senators on a whim and left the actual running of the empire to corrupt favorites. His megalomania grew so extreme he even renamed Rome Colonia Commodiana, the colony of Commodus. It was a spectacle of delusion. Finally, his inner circle, including his mistress, had enough. On New Year's Eve in 192 AD, they poisoned him. When the poison failed to work quickly, they sent in his personal wrestling partner, a man named Narcissus, to strangle him in his bath. A pathetic end for an emperor who played at being a god, but lived and died a tyrant. But what about the ordinary people, the ones trying to survive rulers like Commodus? How do we know about their lives, their final moments? For that, we turn to one of history's most haunting time capsules, Pompeii. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, it didn't just bury a city, it froze it in time. For centuries, the city lay hidden. But when archaeologists began excavating in the 1800s, they found something strange. Voids in the hardened ash, cavities shaped like human bodies. An ingenious archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli realized what these were. As the bodies of the victims decomposed, they left behind a perfect mold in the volcanic material. By carefully pouring liquid plaster into these hollows, they could create detailed casts of the people of Pompeii in their final moments. These plaster casts are not statues. They are chillingly real echoes of life. We see a mother shielding her child, a man curled in the fetal position, a dog writhing on its back, still chained to its post. They reveal the terror and desperation of that day, but they also show us the humanity. We see the clothes they wore, the bread they were about to eat, the poses they took as they suffocated on toxic gas and ash. These casts aren't just about death. They're a profound window into the lives of everyday Romans, the baker, the priestess, the slave. They show us that beneath the grand narrative of empires and emperors are real people, with hopes, fears, and stories that were violently and permanently interrupted. So we've seen the squalor of the streets and the madness in the palace. But what was it like to be in the 1% of the 1%? Let's spend a day in the life of a Roman senator, Your morning begins not with an alarm, but with the gentle stirring of your personal slaves. You don't get dressed. You are dressed in a fine linen tunic and the iconic toga with its purple stripe signifying your rank. Your first order of business is the asterisk salutatio, asterisk, or morning greeting. Dozens, maybe hundreds, of lower-class clients are waiting in your atrium. They're here to pay their respects, ask for legal help, or a bit of cash. In return, you get their political support, their votes, and their loyalty. It's a system of patronage that powers all of Roman politics. After holding court, you'd head to the Senate house in the Forum, carried above the filthy streets in a litter by your slaves. Here, you'll spend hours debating legislation, managing provincial affairs, and, most importantly, networking. Roman politics was a game of alliances, favors, and thinly veiled threats. After a long day of politicking, it's time to unwind, and for a senator, that means the banquet, or asterisk, Sena asterisk. This isn't just dinner, it's a multi-hour extravaganza. You recline on a couch surrounded by other elites, while slaves bring course after course of a wildly extravagant meal. We're talking roasted peacock, stuffed dormice, and fish sauce so expensive it was worth its weight in silver. There would be wine, poetry, music, and philosophical discussions that lasted late into the night. Your home isn't a tiny apartment. It's a sprawling villa on a hill adorned with marble, mosaics, and private gardens. This was the flip side of the Roman coin, a world of unimaginable luxury, propped up by the labor of millions and the political maneuvering of a select few. It was a life as far removed from the common Roman on the street as one could possibly imagine. From the stench of the Suburra to the opulence of a senator's villa, from the tragic end of Commodus to the ghostly figures of Pompeii. The Roman Empire was a world of stark, brutal contrasts. It was a place of genius and cruelty, order and chaos, all at the same time. The glory of Rome was real, but it was built on a foundation of hardship that we often forget. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed digging into the grittier side of history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives. Let me know in the comments which part of Roman life you find most fascinating. See you in the next video.